and welcome to one of the latest engine swaps added to Gran Turismo 7. This is a Mitsubishi Evo 8. Now this car actually already has an engine swap, so this is the secondary engine swap that you can put into the Evo. So before we get into that, we need to just go over how the car actually is standard. Now when you first get behind the wheel of the Evo 8, well, you're just going to experience a very fun vehicle. Now, just like the Subaru WRX, this vehicle I consider a Swiss Army knife, because this is one of a few vehicles in the game that can do whatever you want it to do thanks to the all-wheel drive system. Now with the all-wheel drive system in this car, they took whatever they learned from the World Rally Car Championship to really just hone in and adapt it to the road car to give you the best experience possible. This vehicle comes standard with 276 brake horsepower and a weight of 1,400 kgs. Now the vehicle isn't really lightweight, but it's not heavy. 1,400 kgs is a good starting point for any vehicle, especially once we start throwing some weight reduction at it. We should see this vehicle come down to the 1,200 kg mark, which will be such an improvement. Now the overall experience you get from this Evo is just such a good one. There's nothing I can really fault to the Evo on, because even though it has all-wheel drive, it doesn't really, how do I say, it doesn't really understeer. It isn't really out of control or have moments where you're like, this isn't really that fun. Now we just hit a faster lap time of a 1 minute and 56 second mark, which look, isn't too bad, but it can do with a big improvement. And one way of doing that is by engine swapping it. Now if we come on over to GT Auto, we can see the two options we have for engine swaps for this car, and we see that they are very closely priced, as we have an LS7 BRZ that is a very powerful engine. I mean, standard it comes with over 1,000 horsepower for 300,000 credits, or we have the latest engine swap, and that is out of the Group B rally car. So this engine produces 521 brake horsepower and it is 325,000 credits. Now before we swap in this engine, so now this is my fully upgraded LS7 swapped Evo, and it is an absolute monster. I mean, just look at the acceleration that this vehicle has. 250, 280, 300, 310, 320, slam on the brakes. I don't think we're gonna make it. We made it around the first corner. That should be enough. I shouldn't need to prove anything else to you, because just purely off that acceleration alone, you should get what this vehicle is about. So this vehicle produces now 1,232 brake horsepower and comes in at a weight of 1,144 kgs. So it is extremely lightweight, extremely powerful, and that's why it can do 320 kilometers per hour with absolute ease. Now a problem that I did find with this vehicle is when you do try to corner quite well flat out in the vehicle, it does have quite a lot of understeer, and due to that, well, you can't really push it as hard as you want, so you don't really set that fast of lap times. Even with this car not being the best at cornering, I still managed to complete a lap time of a 1 minute 33 second lap. So look, it's not the fastest thing around, but this is still a competitive lap time. Now if I was able to just set the vehicle upright, I'm sure it can go a lot faster. So now it's time to actually swap in the engine from the Group B Evo to see what this vehicle is now capable of. So firstly, we see the power is already going to jump up to 521 brake horsepower, and we're going to see the weight actually drop to 1,380 kg. So we shave for 20 kgs, we almost double the power of this vehicle, so it should be a good engine swap. So now what we are going to do is take it straight on over to a tuning shop to see how much power we can actually get out of this engine. Now look, it's a race car engine, so as you can see, a lot of the parts are going to be non-applicable, but wherever there are parts that we can add to it, best believe we are gonna add to it. So after fully upgrading the Evo 8, we are left with 788 brake horsepower and a weight of 1072 kgs, making this extremely lightweight and a very powerful vehicle. But hey, let's see how this actually feels around the circuit. So now that we have the engine swap fully upgraded, it's time to see what it's actually capable of. So now we see we are coming down Kyoto Driving Park straight away and we are hitting almost 300 kilometers per hour. We're 290 there before we need to slam on the brakes. Now this car does feel quite planted. I'm still having the same issue of understeer, but hey, we will keep pushing. Now we have a lap time to beat of a 1 minute 35 second lap, because that's what the LS7 swapped Evo was capable of. So we need to see, is this car actually capable of beating said lap time? But so far right now it feels a lot better to use through the corners, and that was a real downside with that LS7 Evo swap. Now that vehicle just had too much power under braking. The minute you got on the power, the vehicle would just push straight and you would understeer. There would be no steering input, and if you wanted to turn, you had to get off the power. Whereas with this, it's the same feelings there. Don't get me wrong, the same feelings there, but you can adjust it. It's easier to control than the LS7 swap. So we're gonna see now if we can't just beat out the LS7's time on the first lap. Will that be possible? We don't know. We're just gonna have to wait and see. On the brakes hard, come around, and get on the power now, and let's see. The acceleration is there, but it doesn't accelerate as fast as the LS7 swap, and we see a 1 minute 33.6. Where it makes the biggest difference is when it comes to fuel consumption. Now we see around the WTC 700 around the one, we complete our first lap in a 4 minute 10 second mark with 1.4 laps of fuel remaining in the LS7 swapped Evo. 58% of fuel left over, and this is with the vehicle being on fuel map level 6. So now in the Group B swap car, we see we did an initial lap of a 4 minute 12 second lap. Now that is 2 seconds slower than the LS7 swap, but the biggest difference is the fuel consumption. We see we have 3.8 laps of fuel remaining and 79% of fuel remaining, which is a massive difference over the LS7 swap. So yes, you are running 2 seconds slower, but you don't have to go into the pit for a very long time. So that's the real advantage of this engine swap. It gives you the usability and the friendliness of having great fuel economy, so you can do money grinding events. Now with the Evo having a Group B swap, we cannot forget what that is about. That's off-roading, and we see this Evo is no exception to the fact that the Mitsubishi Evo is always and will always be an incredible off-roader. We see the way that it just handles the dirt, the way you can just chuck it about, full speed, no care in the world, and set fast lap times. That's what it's all about. And we see that now with the Group B engine, if you do have to take it into off-road races, this vehicle will be very, very competitive. It is such a good, fun vehicle that I don't really have a lot of criticism about. It's able to do whatever you want it to do extremely well. Now look, if I had to pick between this engine swap and the LS7 swap, I'll be honest with you, I'm taking the LS7 swap. Use the fact of it completely transforms the vehicle. I mean, this engine also transforms the vehicle, but it doesn't really give me a massive adrenaline rush like the LS7 swap. This is for a person that has a sensible train of thoughts. They want to have a good vehicle for money grinding, usability. Whereas for myself, I want a vehicle that's going to be extremely fast no matter whatever I want. As long as it can do over 300 kilometers per hour, that's what I'm looking for. So if you want a vehicle that's great at money grinding, great at whatever you want it to do, well, this engine swap is your option. This is your go-to choice compared to the LS7. Whereas if you just want a vehicle that can do over 300 kilometers per hour with ease, then you're gonna need to swap in that LS7. So with this being said, this engine swap for 325,000 credits is well worth it, and you will earn your money back using this vehicle. So with this being said, I want to hear your thoughts and opinions of this engine swap in the comment section down below. And with this being said, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.